Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. I'm very happy to talk upon this topic, to touch upon this topic, to talk about it. Just going into a bit introduction, as I will be sharing more about it along with Siren Wind, Psy Wind. Yet it's so profound that it was very important for me to begin, with this introduction. And actually, letting allowing myself to express all this information that is coming through my memories. As you know, and for the ones that doesn't know, I am YssaH, and I'm very much into unified science and spirituality. I decode ancient texts, ancient artifacts. I activate them through light, sound, and form. Meaning by this, I'm very comfortable using holographic technologies, biophysics, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and also I'm very much connected to all this ancient cosmology regarding to the most emblematic civilizations that have been throughout this story of human evolution. And well, speaking of which, the topic that I'm going to talk about today brings us to all of this, bridging into one very important platform that is opening every day more and more, which is the galactic presence, the presence of the galactic community here on Earth. That again, is nothing new. This has been for a while. Nevertheless, the fact that now it has been so evident and so visible for everyone to access to it, even by academics exposing this as truth, as something official, which is very different from other stages of throughout human evolution. So that's on one side. And the other side is actually how this blends in with the indigenous tribes. The indigenous tribes all over America as a continent, and that we know that there is a very specific story of suppression, of all this wisdom had been abolished, and that now that we're talking about restoring the origin within us, we are starting to tune more into that wisdom, as few as we can have access to, at least right now, because most of that knowledge was lost, at least on a written form, due to the very specific groups that came at some point to invade. Like, for instance, here in Mexico, a lot of the codex were lost or were taken elsewhere. I won't say where, we know where. And that all that wisdom was taken in advantage to serve other purposes. Why? Why could possibly all this information had been lost or forgotten as our very same DNA, the dormant genes? Because it's so important. It's again, well, it's so important because it's so important. Because what it leads us to is to somewhere that precisely will take us to the next level of human evolution as a cosmic race. Some people address to that as a quantum leap. Yet, however you want to name it, it's definitely the next stage of human evolution as a cosmic race. Not because I say it, because it's written everywhere. And why? Why could this be breaching? Like the connection that the indigenous tribes, the wisdom, the knowledge, why could it be breaching to our galactic origins? And the thing is that if we ask ourselves why throughout all these artifacts that are emerging to the surface, that are being excavated by the elders from their lands, they started finding them, we could use logic and say, yeah, because they own the land. Yeah, many people here own lands. Why there? Because they are next to archaeological sites. Yeah, we know that cities were massive then, that they were not centralized in one point. They were spread, as now. We're evolving. So why not in the big cities, when they started building this, constructing these huge buildings, why didn't that started popping out into the surface? Why now? Why by the elders? Why all these prophecies, not only the Hopi prophecy, we have the Yavapai prophecy, we have a Supai to honor them, human, of course, Navajo, like all these also Native American tribes from North America that was like Zoom, and now they are holding most of them, not all of them, to that knowledge because at some point, how it was mainly before, and to some extent still now. When you're spreading information that perhaps it's challenging old school, the old school will perceive it as threatened, as a battle. So the thing is that we're not in the same level of consciousness now. That's the thing. And that's what I want to mainly focus on in this video. Not in what we know already that has happened, yet in the potential of what can happen based on things that were buried long time ago and that now they are flourishing. So again, why the elders? Why these tribes? What I have been remembering and tuning into a lot, because again, as you know, I'm very much involved in all these ancient alien artifacts, decoding them, reading them, activating them, sharing as much information as I can so that everyone can continue to tune into the power of the transmissions that they hold. And now, the fact that the bloodline, let's say, we know how important, like forever, the bloodline, the genetics, how it has been used positively, non-positively, like our galactic origin, our galactic DNA blueprint, that we're transgenerational, work on your family and the memories of your family. Everything is embedded in our DNA, the whole universe. And we can even go beyond the universe. I will keep it short. So all these memories that are stored, they have different encoding. We all have the same information, yet active at different scales. Perhaps you have more active, let's say, the telekinesis. Perhaps I have more active the teleportation. Yet we both are capable to achieve that. Perhaps you have active your blue eyes. Perhaps I have active my brown eyes, and all these things that, again, it's the same information, yet different algorithms. So, what algorithms do the indigenous tribes hold that they had access to the presence, to the story of the presence of the galactic community here, and as well to their inheritance? How? Through the artifacts? How? Through the granted access to stargates? How? Through the granted access to activate very specific things? And we who have and who honor and have active those codes, because again, we all have them. We all come from, the core, the core civilizations that were in a very specific land. We all have codes from almost every civilization or many of them. Yet, when we are capable to activate them, to honor them, and first of all, acknowledge them, then we're accessing to that blueprint. So, and of course, this is also very much related to the soul mission. Yet now, going back to the indigenous tribes. So, do you know I have done some shows lately as well with JP, and he talks about the way that an Aztec and a group of Aztecs activated an arc. Why Aztecs? Yes, because they knew the codes and yes, exactly. They know the codes. They have the galactic imprint active. That's why all the information was so shut down. And this is why it's so important. And now that all these prophecies are emerging into our awareness, to actually support all that ancient knowledge and wisdom to rise. How? Our own awareness. Big enough to make the tribes feel comfortable and start sharing all that knowledge, all that wisdom, planting seeds, as they say. Because even within their very same humble, of course, there is a little bit of everything, but I have had the honor that every elder that I meet with, it's the embodied humbleness. They don't call themselves the saviors of the planet, that they came here to teach us, that they know more than we do. Of course, you might run into elders that deliver themselves that way. I'm talking on behalf of my own experience. And, they have been like extremely humble and just saying, we're seeders as ourselves in our most advanced galactic expression. We, as founders, seeded this planet. And that's what they are showing to us. But someone comes and say, oof, that's woo-woo. No, that's the bridge to reconnect. Yes, they carry a lot of the spirituality on that. Spirituality is highly scientific. How? You just need to read between the lines. They talk about plasma as the spirit, as the fundamental force. They talk about psionics, the shamans, controlling weather, speaking to animals, levitating, as well as the monks, like all of that, they carry this technology, the highest technology of the biology, even transferring their consciousness to animals. They call it Nahual. You're transferring your consciousness to an animal and then seeing through the animal and influencing the animal enough so that he does what you want, and then you going back to your body. Is that woo-woo? No, that's high science, and it's backed up by quantum physics and the unified holographic universe. So, a holofractal, how you want to call it. And of course, there are different layers in which our universe exists. We have our geometrical body, we have our holofractal body, we have then the one that densifies a little bit and starts to communicate into packets of energy, making groups and then densifying and creating the body and so forth. Anyway, the thing is that this ancient wisdom knew about it, knows about it. So what do we need to do to open our channels to receive? Because we know that as creators of our own reality, we are capable to signal to the universe that we are ready to listen. And then we will receive that feedback from the universe. What would involve? What are the implications of this? Well, first, I want to, before going there, which is very much connected, I want to tell you how deep this goes. If we tune into, for instance, the Hopi prophecy, that I have made other videos about this, they talk about the rainbow warriors. Rainbow involves plasma, involves the full spectrum of light, involves wholeness, involves also the beings, the galactic brothers, coming down to Earth and visiting us, putting a little bit of order here, as well as through the rainbow warriors. Things happening in the field, like the weather-wise, planetary wise, like all these constants constants that we will see repeatedly in other prophecies coming from other indigenous tribes. For instance, we have the Mayan that talks about the Sakbalam, which is the white jaguar. And I'm pointing this because this is a white jaguar, which talks about that when humanity has reached its maximum point of tolerance regarding to how the earth feels towards humanity, then white jaguars would come from the skies flying, and I'm saying flying, spaceships, and then would put order here for the ones that are not listening to the cosmic order. So we already have the three-eyed atlas. We already have Swan. I made a video like way ago before it started coming, more famous as it is now. And I was talking about this interaction that it's making in between three-eyed atlas and Swan. They did it behind the earth, behind the sun, at least from our point of perspective. And now they are doing it in front of us, just in front of the earth, creating this plasma field that is actually one of the things that it is doing is marking, let's say, an alarm clock, setting it on, This alarm clock was anchored, configured a while ago, and we're talking about two poles, right? Let's say we can even see that in ancient texts, like the Sefer Yetzirah, very encoded one regarding to Kabbalah, and it says about the spheres of the tree of life: 10 and not 9, 10 and not 11, and so forth. Why 10? Well, if we divide 10 by 2, we have 5. We have the Vitruvius Man. We have the points in that interconnect our axis from head to toes to hands. So then we have that 5-pointed star. Another belief is that every time that we are in a reality, we are in a planet, we are heading to the next planet closer to the sun. That is the heaven for us. For instance, in this case, we would be um, heaven to Mars, and Venus would be our heaven. And if we see all these ancient civilizations, how they talk about the Venus, it's everywhere, you know, it's everywhere. They put the 5-point star. You see how it's important for many hermetic groups, for many secret societies, 555. However, you want any direction that you want to place it, yet 5, because that's our heaven. This is why that's also very related to the opposite to heaven when it's facing down, because up is where we're heading to, you know. So again, and why it's related to the dualism, because again, the 10 divided by 2, it's 5, 5, 5. Okay, so then we will see that this reality, if we go 9 divided by 2, or 11 divided by 2, we have 11 as a prime number. We would need a 3 to divide 9, and so forth. Then we have other numbers which serve for other things, yet not for the polarity that is fundamental, the dipoles, to create the vacuum force, the vacuum fluctuations, access to a 0-point field. So this is why it's so important. Why 10 and not 9 or not 11? And I'm not saying that there are only 10 spheres in the tree of life. I'm just saying, if we are open to receive all the wisdom and not saying, oh, that's bad, that's dead, then we will be able to just take what is coherent to our evolution, like these pearls of wisdom, of knowledge. And then we see, oh, so then 10, they're talking about the configuration that was made for the holographic polarization. Oh, I'm getting to understand more about the holographic nature. That's why everything is so polarized, so dual. Immersed in dualism. Oh, wow. Okay. So now, where I was heading to with Swan and 3i Atlas. So we have these 3i Atlas and Swan that are intercrossing, playing poles, dipoles, which are creating this huge configuration of intersection of the poles, X. This is huge because we know about the chromosome X, we know about the cross X, we know about the Cartesian plane, we know. So how the X code, I talk about this as well, you know, like about 5 years ago, about the X code, which is how our brain hemispheres interconnect, not here, not linear, not here. It's both constant. So, and through this, then we unfold the reality and, you know, go into many other dimensions. But I'm not saying this is it. But why I'm pointing this out is because also this X represents two Tauruses, okay? Two Tauruses, like two apples. The apple or the Taurus, to exist, needs to be a sphere, right? So that sphere is 720 degrees, 72. Remember 72 names of God, 72 names of the Virgins code. 720 degrees and 720 degrees, 1,440, 144,000 cycles per second, harmonic speed of light. If we see Penrose's diagram, a magnificent quantum physicist, well, mathematician, you know, he talks about the black hole and the white hole. It's precisely an X yet as ovals, because again, reality is nonlinear. If we see this, it's a sphere. You know, even when we again, I could go on and on. But anyway, so what I want to share with you guys today is that this intersection that this is presenting in front and behind the sun, in front of the earth, or if you want to see it behind the sun, behind the earth, what it's creating is this huge field, electromagnetic field, which the angular momentum, which is the speed, the harmonics in which they are flowing, they are enabling, like one of the things, because of course this extends to many things, but one of the things is us to generate that intersection, not only within our both energies, both poles, north and south, feminine and masculine, analytic and creative, like that's one thing. And also in between, and this is super important, super important, the solar aspect of ourselves and transcending the attachment that we have to the moon and uplifting it into the plasmic force that comes when the sun hits the moon, and then through that energy it comes to us in a different frequency. It's not the same solar frequency directly coming through solar storms and so forth, that talking about the plasma coming, hitting the moon, which is what gives it light. And I'm not going to go into, yes, it's artificial. Yeah, there is a lot of things going on there. Even it's connected. I will share a little bit in a bit about the original sin, or is it the original moon? So anyway, hitting the moon and then coming, and I'm talking again about organic light, not inorganic light. The organic light that comes from the sun hitting the moon and then reflecting back at us. Why? Because there is a huge wavelength coming from the moon to the earth. So then all that wavelength, so through that wavelength, the plasma coming from the sun, influenced by the field of the moon, comes here. Why do you think the women, the feminine, would dance so much around the moon? Another super important ancient wisdom from the indigenous tribes. By the way, indigenous, because I have run into a lot of people that ask me if I think that the word indigenous could be offending the tribes. And I say always no. Whoever knows what the true etymology of indigenous is will know it's actually honoring them. Why? In Latin, indio, which is in Spanish, indio, there, that's where indigenous comes from, is in Deo, God within. So that's a huge honor. And I'm very sure that they honored that name attributed to them as a collective. So there is a moon dance, there is a solar dance, there is a sun dance. So the thing is that it's how we play with the energy, whether if we allow it to tumble us down, or whether if we empower through it. Um, okay, and it was telling me that it stopped transmitting um, in Instagram, which is really interesting. But anyway, I will upload it. And thank you so much for your comments. Let me just take care about this, because for a reason, you know, this is happening. And okay, so they were what is the feminine? The feminine was before educated to master, and I'm not only talking about women, but it was mainly, they were mastering the way that their black hole nature would unfold. With this, I mean, how would they shape their potential energy? They wouldn't just be as then after other civilizations, you know, like, okay, you are feminine when you are exquisite, and you know, that's okay, that's beautiful as well. Yet the other aspect of the feminine that was left behind, like, oh no, don't do that because you're a woman and you need to stay, you know, like courteous, and just, you know, all of that was done on purpose to actually avoid the woman connecting with their sensuality, with their sexuality, with their fire, their passion, their that ignites here and here, you know. So yeah, it's everything, you know, like everything, even the ways that they would attribute, you know, to create more refined societies, you know, it was just uh, baloney. Baloney. Yeah, I think I now, hold on, I'm trying to edit it. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting there, guys. Thank you. Okay, here it goes. And we're good to, I think we're good to go. And if not, I will just paste it. But anyway, as I was telling you, um, so yeah, there we go. Nice. So as I was telling you, the way that they would use, like even the menstrual blood, you know, they in the beginning they said it was due to sacrificial motives, you know, like the virgins would be sacrificed. And I'm not saying that that didn't happen, I'm just saying the original purpose of it, which was they were not even caught, not even a bit. They would be offering their menstrual blood. Why? Because it's plasma. What would they use for? Many things, even creating technology. How? Blood? Is that some kind of dark magic? No, it's genetics. It's alchemy. It's a way of transferring your consciousness. Yet someone came and forgot about all the scientific aspect of it and started speaking or trying to understand spirituality through what then came in through an institution. And I'm not saying that religions are bad. The institution that was created to provide very specific interests was what came in play through the transcription of all of this information, control, power, and so forth. So now, I was talking about polarities and why the sun and the moon is involved. So now, once we as humanity generate the intersection of those two main forces within us, the potential and kinetic, we achieve the golden ratio. What does that mean? Entropy, harmony, 0 point energy. I'm not saying that the golden ratio is the 0 point field. That we're talking about harmonics, we're talking about plasma coherence, and everything is interconnected onto some scale. And yes, the golden ratio is very present in quantum physics. So, and the universe itself, the construction of the universe itself. Anyway, so, and even the heart, even the heart, the harmonics of the heart, which leads to plasma coherence. Therefore, I was saying that everything is interconnected. Anyway, so now we have these two interstellar celestial objects creating this intersection and creating like when you're going to do like a spiritual wedding and you put a lace in between the bride and the groom. Why? The solar plasma codes that we are receiving at this moment are orchestrating for us to nourish from that plasma and accelerate what would some quantum physicists would call the wave, the wave collapse, the wave factor collapse, which is mainly waves collapsing and generating consciousness. That's what neurons do. That's what other chemicals in our body do, cells, the neurochemicals, in order to create oxytocin, endorphin, and so forth. They co-create in a very specific way that, as in this cohesive orchestration in between mitochondria, in between the cells, of course, microtubules, mitochondria, and therefore going upscaling all the way into a cosmic scale, they start to create triplets of triplets, which is connected to the geometry, the pyramidal geometries, that when they were fully active, that the spheres that are popping out now to the surface, and that I said a while ago as well, they are connected to the pyramids. The Boogosphere connected to the pyramids. The other spheres that are showing up connected to the pyramids. This is very important. The way that they were configured was from a 9th dimensional level of consciousness. By means of this, it was not when, like the fall of Atlantis and so forth. They were configured even before, and even that they were used as Atlantean technology, they were brought even before by other galactic races that are founder races that are located in Orion. Not all of them are from Orion, but it's very much connected to the Council of 9. It began, then it went to Council of 5. And this Council of 5 is very handed in this technology. And then other like Syrians and people from Orion and other interstellar systems, they joined and they put a little bit of their imprint in that technology. With what purpose? And by imprint, what do I mean? Embedding codes, encrypting of their codes within that nexus, that quantum nexus that we see in that famous chip, or like the symbol that is in my screen in the upper, you would see right side. So the fact that this technology is very much present right now, and that it's not the first time. We had other events like the Nuremberg that I have also spoken about. The Nuremberg was preceded and followed by other events that these spheres would come to the sky, and there was no cataclysm. Earth was here, and everything went fine. But now, what's the difference? The level of consciousness. The level of consciousness at that time, we're talking about since medieval times, they wouldn't care. Perhaps they would say it was like witches. I've heard stories here in Mexico about red balls showing in the hills, red fire balls that were witches. Again, all this scientific aspect. We see the Virgin carrying Yeshua or Emmanuel holding spheres, right? It's so immense, this. We're capable to connect with those spheres through the heart. If you want to try it, go for it. You can just expand your heart vortex, your plasma field, and start connecting to that technology. So now, again, going to the indigenous tribes. Told you this was very vast. This topic is very vast. And then we're working on Mars than Earth. Yes. Okay, reading we are getting through Atlas is the Martians returning to our galaxy. Now there was working on Jupiter. Thank you for asking this, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. I would love to know your name at some point. Thank you for always being present. So what I remember, and again, why I continuously say remember, it's something that is happening currently. Isn't remembrance based on past memories? No. The space memory network is all the informational field that we can access to in situ. So when I say remember, I'm talking about accessing to that memory, data, information. Because for every memory that I acknowledge within me, it's not something that I am integrating from outside. It's something that is already within me and that I am continuing to render as I speak, as I exist, anyway. So, thank you. Beautiful. Yeah, so anyway, back to the question. Why is everyone tuning into so many things regarding to the 3-8 Atlas? We have remote viewers, very renowned ones, and by renowned I mean that they have huge expertise on the topic, on the practice, and they have said that it's a spaceship full of reptilians that are in stasis, and that at some point they will wake up. There is other people saying that those are Lyran fleets. There are also some people saying that they are releasing spheres, that those spheres coming through, even more, because I mentioned this months, like a few months ago. Now, there will be one day that a huge number of spheres will be showing into the surface. And I wasn't even aware of the Nuremberg event. I just read that a couple of weeks ago. So all of this information, why is everyone tuning into something different? Some things are cohesive to others. What if we unify all of them? For me, one of the biggest things that this is showing to us is the capability of us constructing reality in situ. By the way, in situ in Latin means as I speak or as you speak. So these these timelines that again are happening always, the big difference, and we are creating ripples in time and so forth. The big difference right now is interacting with such a high level of plasma. What is plasma? We know that there are some ancient ET technologies, extraterrestrial technologies, that involved plasma, creating these huge monuments as the pyramids, as temples, and so forth. There are different theories. All of them are beautiful. What I remember is that one of the highest technologies that we have is plasma technology. With plasma, you are capable to shape whatever you want. You're softening it, and then it's like creating a mix. You're making a cake. So with that plasma, this high level of plasma, you're shaping the reality, and therefore you're curving space-time. Therefore, you're creating matter realities. So with all these huge levels of plasma, we are creating realities. This is why even you can feel that, okay, timeline shift, timeline shift, timeline shift, timeline shift, and so forth. Because the fabric of a space-time at this moment is being in interaction with our minds. That again, this is always, yet it goes at a different level of coherence, therefore different level of impact on our reality. Now it's high, it's accelerated. So all this acceleration, all this communion with plasma and so forth, if we don't focus, this is super important, guys. If we don't focus, hi Jim, and your son, hi Ceci, hi everyone. If we don't focus our plasma field to empower our capabilities, our multidimensional construction of ourselves, and therefore upgrading our body onto the next level, we have, like, imagine plasma. I'm not saying it's the same, but just as an analogy, imagine plasma as the mental energy. You're thinking all the time. That's the most amount of energy that most of the people spend through their brains, not exercising, through their brains. So, and yeah, I'm also like thinking all the time. But anyway, so, oh, interesting. It's blocking me out as well now from Facebook. Well, let me see, because I did it with okay, there you go. I think I'm on again. Let me see, because anyway, it's like it doesn't allow me now while I am live to share to the public. It's pretty impressive. Okay, so hold on. I'm just going to remove it. Cancel. Okay. Okay. Remove. And thank you for your patience, guys. And I think, let's see. There, we're on. Okay, so as I was saying, the Martian. Named Major Kevin. He also said the pyramids was supposed to have been on the poles. Well, again, like all of this is very important information, and I'm quite sure that you encourage your son Matt to have all this interaction and communication with these beings. That's fundamental. Soon we will be giving practices in schools to kids so that they can use their telekinesis skills. That's exciting. But anyway, so now we are those huge levels of plasma around us coming from the sun, amplified. Actually, like I won't stand much longer on this topic because there are so many things to share. But all that solar storm, so I'm going for part 2. All these solar storms impacting, if you don't use it to empower your plasma body, that actually is like your monkey brain, and you're creating one reality and one reality and one reality and one reality, connecting with timeline, with another timeline, with another timeline. That happens a lot, but there wasn't this level of plasma. With now all this level of plasma, it's like you're bringing it into a very fairly active spatiotemporal constant, something that can potentially be U2. So now another thing is, I'm saying this so that you guys tune into it through your multidimensional awareness and non-linear form of thinking. So, because we are reaching a point that we're so powerful already that if you, Jason, are tuning into that reality, and then Emily, your neighbor, is tuning into another reality, what's that creating? Instead of us coming together and unifying a very specific bridge of what is more convenient for us to create regarding to these collective events. I'm not talking about your daily life, like what are you going to have for dinner? Why would Emily be involved? I'm talking about these collective things. What as a collective is the most beneficial for us to create right now? A reptilian fleet that is going to invade Earth, or a Lyran fleet that is bringing solar codes, or even we don't need to go into, like details, but just knowing that it's something positive. And then we're creating that field of reality that is going to be manifested like this. And I mean, this is happening inherently, This is why also some people is feeling that the timelines are, also going through a fissure, splitting timelines, because this is very much connected to the two poles intersecting. And then what will happen? The vacuum polarization, as well as when we talk about the magnetic poles reversal, it's talking about a dipole, like dipoles, which is consciousness. Remember that I was saying Generating consciousness, for that to happen, your aromatic rings, your benzenes in your brain, in your microtubules, in your mitochondria, in your neurons, start to create dipoles. And those dipoles, at some point, are going to create a charge collapse. Why? Because they are polarizing. So they are not emitting anymore, a resonant frequency. And you might say, oh, but that's not good. They're going to collide into one another. Like we were taught through the CERN, the Hadron Collider, that's how life comes to, what life comes to. No, the vacuum force, more than just a chaotic process of bringing life to the universe, is when forces, after non-finding themselves in one another, end up creating the counterpart, which is a torsion that will bring them merging. And then from that emergence, they create that 0 point field because they are so accelerated and so equal to one another. This is also a super clue. When they are not equal to one another, they will end up repelling themselves. And that's what happens with levitation processes. But when they are equal to one another, like me to myself, my feminine to my masculine, my negative, positive, and so forth, I am one, then they, from pulling outwards, then they end up being sucked by themselves due to the very same source code that they have and creating that 0 point field. I'm putting this in words that are not very scientific. I'm trying to do my best to put it in a way that can also be in resonance with the ones that are more into spiritual terms. So, creating that bridge, sucking one another, and then, creating that 0 point field. So this is why groups are being called. Remember, even in the Bible, like there will be light, there will be darkness, but it won't end there. That's the important thing. That's the people that will come from fear, the people that will come from love, create a spatio-temporal constants based on love, create spatio-temporal constants based on fear, and so forth. So now, once that's fulfilled, they find a point in communion. How? And this is a major key. Heart coherence. I wrote a phrase that I find so beautiful and touching to the soul, which is when the heart returns to its true north, all tribes will find their common tongue. They will speak the same language. We know that there are many tribes that are now separated. We know that there are many humans that are separated. That was part of the polarization. Yes. Now we are in the 0 point breaching point. When we find that point in communion, we are in that point. We already went into the polarization. We need to be aware of that. Now it's time for us to bring that bridge of communion. We don't need to try to do it in the collective. First, do it within you. That's the most important thing, because we can only transmit what we are by resonance. So now, I've been talking about this in my past shows about our heart. We know that it has an inclination, and that inclination, as it might be normal, doesn't mean that it's original, neither the Earth's axis. That was provoked by something that hit the Earth. And that which hit the Earth is very much connected to the original moon, which was a planet. Again, there is people that believe that it was another planet. That's okay. The important thing is to know, because again, in this infinite field of probabilities is whatever is more coherent to our own story. The important thing here is, for me at least, is that when this happened and the Earth's axis tilt was created, now we are not heading to the true north. Now we have seasons. We didn't have seasons before. There are records that when the moon came, like I was talking about this yesterday with Tone Mallard, there are records that say that there was no moon before the moon, that there was no moon, and that all of a sudden one day, ta-da, you know, not all of that, because otherwise where would the collapse be, you know? But, but, but there is one thing that also they say that when the moon appeared in other ancient texts, when the moon appeared, a cataclysm happened. We can address this to the magnetic Earth shift, because of course it decreased once the moon was placed there. We can also attribute this to the fact that there were inherent geological shifts. But the thing is that even in the ancient texts, like the indigenous ones, what you can save from what is accessible to someone who is not directly from the tribe, and I say directly because I consider myself carrying those codes for sure. So it's that the presence of the moon, not only that agitation of the earth and flood and so forth. Before that, there was a huge earthquake. So that huge earthquake can also be due to the collapse, something hitting the earth, So, and when I say that in the beginning that the moon hit the earth, I'm just saying that there are also other ancient texts that say in very specific codes that the moon was created after a planet, they call it a woman, was mean to the mother earth. They battled, and then the sun, which Huitzilopochtli in this case, came and shredded the woman in pieces. And then only one piece was kept, and that was called the moon. So the main point here is that if we use the moon, the frequency, as a mastery, to connect with that plasma that is coming influenced and the plasma coming directly from the sun, we will be creating a very interesting alchemy related to what? To the emotional body. To what else? To the fact of restoring the conduits, the inner earth conduits that are 12, that are wormholes that connect to the earth's core, and that reflect on to some extent to our DNA, to our 12-stranded DNA, and that can actually then unfold, let's say, into its next octave. So I'm going to be talking about covering a fair amount of information regarding to the DNA at the Rise of the Guardians on May from the 8th to the 10th. So I hope to see you there. And how, once these conduits are restored, then more plasma pure plasma is being funneled, more coherence. Because for the ancient ones, and mainly the Atlanteans, these 12 wormholes were considered like the most important thing on Earth, including because they put like an arc in each one of them, and that arc is activated through very specific DNA. And this is why all the distortion happened as well in the DNA, because the less that we are comfortable with the Earth, the less that we are capable to ascend, because descending is ascending, and descending through the wormholes is ascending to the stars. So clearing this 12, I will be talking about what is each one of these wormholes related to at a chromosomic level, at stranded DNA level, and also how this influences, once it's restored, the cymatics of your DNA and being able to activate your luminous DNA along with your geometrical light body. And I will be bringing technology, like not only holographic plasma technology. I will be bringing technology to show the cymatics, the resonance that the biofield generates, and how all these geometries actually empower your own cymatic signature in your DNA and empower your plasma body. So just to wrap it up, regarding to that, hi there. I am sorry for not showing the comments or reading all. It's not the same when you are, doing a show by yourself than, just being with someone else and being capable to jump into the comments. But anyway, so the last thing that I want to say regarding to these prophecies and indigenous tribes and the bloodline, now that I have touched upon the genetics. So the indigenous tribes bloodline, they were imprinted with the codes to actually activate those artifacts. Not only them, also there is other people that we hold the codes, and if you want, you can activate them within you, But yet the thing is that these indigenous tribes, if they continue dormant, they're not fulfilling their galactic mission. Hope needs to be restored, and aligning the heart to the true north, which was I was saying, is restoring heart coherence. Restoring the heart coherence. What are you talking about, YssaH? Are we really bringing our heart? Well, again, as we have been talking in other shows, there are kids that are already being born with their heart centered. So if we are capable to make our pineal gland levitate 45 degrees and align to our facial chakra, or the upper back part of our skull, we're very capable to align our heart. I don't know if a lot of people have been experiencing, like heart aches. It's not because your heart is breaking for emotional reason. It's because it's really shifting, it's really relocating. You just need to put a lot of trust, a lot of faith, a lot of love, and bringing it back to the center, to your heart coherence. You can do breath work. I will also be doing an exercise in my presentation at the Rise of the Guardians. So if you are there, if you are there, you will be joining us in this heart activation. Alignment to the true north. And if not, you can put your intention, like just bringing it back to the center. There are very specific exercises, breath works that will help you do that. And mostly once you have your plasma body activated, then it becomes very easily. And also when you're aware of the quantum entanglement in between neurons and neurons in your gut brain, and you're able to say, hey, help, So The most important thing and the power key, the power ingredient for all of this is love. Love yourself and bring it, to the true north, to your true north. And then you can emanate, this heart coherence to everywhere that you are, to everyone. And there are other things in the prophecies that they are even talking about when the shift, the color, like when the spheres emerge, spheres or fireballs. This is also why in the Bible it says about, but it's plasma balls, plasmoids. When I plasmoids. So even these plasmoids are spoken. They're mentioned in these prophecies. Also, there is the red-feathered maiden, son, daughter, which refers to a maiden that with red feathers that will come, and it's daughter of the sun and will unify these tribes. I feel it's a huge invitation, red-feathered phoenix, feminine, of the awakening of the feminine to master their potential energy. Don't be afraid of your power. If you're not afraid of your power, you won't use it to suppress other. Anyone who is in fear of their power will use it to suppress the other, so that the other doesn't come like more like stronger and then overpose to the one that imposed in the first place. So that who is super secure of its own power, it doesn't impose itself at all, just is. So don't be afraid of your power, whether if you're like I'm talking about the feminine energy, and also the masculine. But I will explain why. I'm focusing a little bit more now to the feminine, because men also have feminine. And we have been shown that the masculine is going through some adaptations regarding to the feminine, and also the feminine is going through some adaptations in relation to regarding to the masculine. It's like a confusion of what is what. No, let's keep it in coherence, regardless of other choices. Coherence. The feminine energy and the masculine energy commune with one another, yet they don't corrupt one another. That's different. They expand the essence of one another. So the prophecies talk about this feminine energy, solar energy, that is going to bring all those codes of plasma knowledge, plasma coherence into the human awareness. Therefore, through the heart, will invite and inspire all the tribes. Just ask yourself, tune into your own feminine, whether if you're a woman, whether if you're a man, tune into your own feminine and how you can actually hold the space for that amount of love, of unity to be. And empowering your plasma body through the solar codes coming directly from the sun and redirected from sun, moon, and then to you, because they are coming, like. So when you master it, when you become that master, that arts craftsman, that craftsman for the potential energy, then you're capable to shape it. You're not afraid of it. You just embrace it and look what's the best purpose for it. Remember, nude your experiences. By this, I mean, take out characters, take out faces, just see the energy. What's that energy for? What are you meant to create with that energy? Therefore, you're creating a detachment to the cyclic drama, and then you're just connecting with energy. Then an awareness at an emotional body level will come. Yet once you have, given a response, a detached response. So having said this, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your presence. What else? Oh, also the Yavapai talks about ancient artifacts emerging through the Red Land. I, I will talk more about it in the part 2. And yeah, very honored. Thank you so much for all your comments. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, based on all your comments, I will make other videos about that. Thank you for sharing. Right now, it's time for me to end this broadcast. Yet, I thank you so much, and I will be definitely taking them into consideration for the next shows. So, having said this, Hunuch, and yeah, until next time.